gonna be like my new like picture or something like that. So I was like, okay, go to Fiverr.com and just hire somebody to do like a Naruto picture of me or Dragon Ball Z. I even had talked to a guy about Grand Theft Auto.
Dragon Ball Z would be pretty wild. Super Saiyan you all up.
And just jump on into this. What's going on, guys? Thank you for coming to another one of these Breaking the Base episodes. Last week we talked about the Dark Knight, but this week we're going to talk about the Man of Steel. Of course, we have with me the awesome, the totally rad Mr. Ken Phillips.
Yay! Yay!
So right now we're just going to jump on into this. Go ahead and just start us off, Ken. What are your thoughts about the Man of Steel?
Oh, Man of Steel, Superman, Kal-El, Last Son of Krypton. All these names you should know. He's been around since 1938. He's an old dude.
Old school.
Very old school. Batman just beats him only by 2 years, I believe, from the date from last weekend or last week.
Yeah.
So only by a couple of years that you had the two big powerhouses in DC's comic universe. Of course, Superman being like pretty much the most powerful character in the DC universe. Mm-hmm. And we ran into him in Action Comics #1, which is worth a fortune if you happen to have one. Unless your name's Nicolas Cage, don't even bother. They're too darn expensive. They're in the millions of dollars for a fresh comics version of that Action Comics #1. I think there's only like 5 in existence that anybody knows of. So, oh well.
He got one. He bought
Nicolas
one?
Cage does have no one. Remember, he was supposed to play Superman in
that's what I was,
Tim Burton's Superman.
Yeah, that's what I was
and somewhere along those lines, he went and bought. Well, I think he actually already had it. I'd have to kind of dig around, but I'm pretty sure he already had the Action Comics there in his collection. I think he's got a pretty good collection, actually, believe it or not. And I think Kevin Smith, too, if you ever seen Mallrats or any of the Chasing Amy's, he's got huge collections, too. Very big collections.
All right, there's just so much to talk about when it comes to Superman. Oh, and I think we just go ahead and just jump on to the legacy. For those people, the very few, that do not know who the Man of Steel is, he is a Kryptonian, an alien race that are humanoids. And when his planet was just about to explode, he ended up escaping.
Yeah, and his mom and dad set him up.
Yep, and he came to Earth, and he was raised among people. And discovering his abilities, he decided to just be a good guy.
Luckily for us.
And one of the most pronounced superheroes of all time.
Yep. Pronounced, most known, stands out like a sore thumb in a crowd. But he has an alter ego that hide amongst us. And that man is Clark Kent. Day-by-day reporter, superhero at night.
How do you, what do you think about the whole Clark Kent Superman persona thing? Do you think, I mean, to us, since we read the comments and we're from, in real life, to us, it seems obvious that it might be him.
I kind of like, I've always found it funny. Like, they've kind of thrown that into a couple of the TV series, like Lois and Clark, where they had the bad guy, and he was like, it's him, Clark Kent, Superman, glasses on, glasses off, Clark Kent, Superman, and then we had a hinkling of that in Batman versus Superman. Just a very quick little, just quick blurb right in there. So, you would, I mean, being an alien that looks like a human, I mean, he's pretty much passable for anybody. So, I mean, he doesn't have any differences that we see cosmetically or exteriorly. So, I mean, and a lot of times if you ever had that friend in school that was like always kind of a little nerdy and they wore glasses all the time and braces, and then they go away for the summer and you come back and you don't recognize them because they got the braces gone and the glasses are off.
Yeah.
And you're like, who the heck is that? That's kind of mystery, I guess, that goes with it. You know, it gets it by, it makes it work, you know, but we in the real world, and, you know, aside from comic book or TV land, you know, most people would kind of figure it out within the first couple times that they would see him. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I guess it's because his character is somewhat withdrawn. It's easy for him to hide in plain sight.
Well, he's a no-name reporter. I mean, he's got a name in the Daily Planet, but he's, you know, he's not out there. He's not being seen. He vanishes a lot. You know, he tries to stay low-key. You know, not a lot of everybody sees Superman up close and personal, because most of the time the heroics happen, it's very quickly. People are in shock or in help or I need you. They don't really pay a whole lot of attention, and then he's gone, you know, in a blink of an eye. So I think it works well. I believe there was some talk of changing his whole backstory floating around out there somewhere in the internet world I saw. And I'm like, why? Why do you have to go back and change a classic? You know, I don't understand. Never understand these reboots.
I understand the reboot of it. Excuse me, I'm eating some Popeyes.
Oh, I see how it is. I had a bacon sandwich and you're over there eating Popeyes. I could use some dirty rice right now, too.
Eat that chicken.
I don't like chicken, but I do like their dirty rice and red beans and rice. They're good.
I'm more fond of the mashed potatoes.
I do like their mashed potatoes, but I'm not a big potato person. But I can kill some rice. You better believe it.
See, I'm interested if it works. Now, if it don't work, I'm going to be like, now why you had to change it? But if it works...
you know, as I was sitting here just trying to surf and find, I remember reading that. I frequently a site called io9.com, which is kind of like a sci-fi movies, TVs, comics, and they have, like, you know, morning spoilers and all kind of stuff that goes on the site. And I typically read that at least once or twice a day, usually in the morning, because I think they're a British run or yeah, I think they're British run. But they have, you know, all kind of neat stuff on there. And they have a lot of good stories and things that are going on. If you want to keep up with movies, keep very current with movies, even backstories, TV shows. You know, they have the spoiler version, the non-spoiler version. Lots of good stuff there if you ever take a chance and go check it out. And they have a lot of other ones that they tie into, like your gaming channel. So, Crocketeer, I think, is one of them. So, but I think I ran across that story on there talking about how they wanted to reboot and create a new backstory, because it's the exact thing we're talking about. You know, Superman glasses, Superman no glasses, Clark Kent glasses, and trying to change it. And I was like, I don't think so. I can't go with it. You know, I don't mind changing. Go ahead.
Like the circumstances or something like that, but not like him being like the last son of Krypton.
No, they're not changing that. They were just kind of changing how things on Earth kind of went, and changing some.
I mean, they've had several different versions to that. Of course, you got the Flashpoint paradox, where he never became a superhero. In fact, he was captured.
He was a test subject.
So he never. Yeah, and then you know, we was talking about the Red Sun story arc where he becomes.
And Cold War fight, you know.
One. Then you got the Injustice one when he actually turns bad.
Yep.
It ain't too left field and behind it.
Yeah, there's quite a few backstories. We all know, you know, Death of Superman. I mean, there's a lot of really cool story arcs that are out there. That have out there. Even after issue 75 with Death of Superman, there was a whole sideline of characters coming out to take Superman's place. I mean, it was just all kind of craziness was going on. So, you know, how can we replace Superman, our number one Billy badass dude, and our number one guy? How can we change things?
I want to ask you something. Do you think the DC universe can get by if Superman truly died? Like,
if they eliminate the character completely?
Yeah,
I think it would be
dead and gone.
You know, that would be the same question I would pose to you as, what if Captain America died? For reals died.
I thought he did die. He did die.
Like the character, like just completely, like gone. No more Captain America ever.
I don't know about the other part. I do remember that Captain America did die.
He was assassinated by Crossbones.
Yeah.
And I can't think of the guy who took over his reign.
I thought that there was kind of a controversy that Crossbones actually was the person. I think there was like somebody that beat him like a split second.
Could have been. That'd be a never known story for another day, though.
Yeah.
But I think removing Superman from the DC universe would be detrimental for a little while, and then things would move on. But you've had a character who's been there since 1938, who has, one of the key members of the Justice League, who has had his own series, his own movies, huge amounts of animated TV series, shows, comics, and to just walk in there and zork him out of existence. And remember, he's one of our more powerful characters in the DC universe. We talk about, we'll talk about some of the bad guys in the DC universe that he runs across on a pretty regular basis. Yeah. The DC world would probably crumble comically because there'd be nobody to stop these, super mega villains showing up, like Darkseid, for example. There would be nobody to stop them.
But would Superman's death give rise to perhaps a new superhero?
Well, they tried AIM and Argus and what's one of the other super secret organizations? They came up with a clone, but he wasn't fireproof.
Katniss.
They came up with a clone, but he wasn't fireproof. Although he had most of the powers, he still had a weakness. They've tamed Bizarro at one time to use him as a hero when Superman disappeared. Guy's dumb as a brick. Of course, it's Bizarro world, so everything there is way off. So I think it would do a detriment to DC to do something like that. Re-image him, reboot him, whatever, but elimination of Superman in the DC world would just leave a very large gap in the storytelling universe because there's so many cross ties right now to Superman. And to me, he's kind of like Captain America, one of those, as you say, an all-American hero in the DC universe. He's a staple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just can't see him being pulled out of that.
I don't want to see that as there was a death of Superman with Doomsday, but he was brought back.
Yeah, he didn't quite exactly kill him, but he was pretty much there.
I want to see.
Doomsday didn't really die either. We all know this.
I would love to see a story of what all the villains, all the major villains, said, "Okay, we're going to attack Earth." To see all the other superheroes and perhaps super villains. With some of the
that would be closest to the Crisis series. Although Crisis was a little bit different, where all the multi-universe, the Earths, 1, 2, 3, and I can't remember the other one. I think it was 5, but they were all being collapsed by the Anti-Monitor, and all the supervillains and superheroes are first went against each other. And then they said, "Oh wait, this is not the right thing to do. We need to all go against the one bad guy." So all the superheroes, all the supervillains teamed up and went against the Anti-Monitor character in all the Earths that were available at the time in the Crisis series.
Like that. That would be good. I would like to see Superman dies, Darkseid attempts to try to take over the world.
Well, I think we're going to see that in the next. We're going to see that in the next Superman movie coming up.
Supervillains have to fight him off. Then say Brainiac steps up, wants to take over the world.
Yes.
Maybe even put it to what Lex Luthor is leading the people.
Well, we have the Legion of Doom.
Or whatever.
Granted, from my childhood.
Story, just to say the least.
Yeah, there could be Lex Luthor leads the Legion of Doom, which has, I'm just trying to find some just of the few characters I can think of right off the bat.
Of the Legion of Doom?
Yeah, I mean,
Cheetah.
I think just about every major bad guy wasn't there, like Bizarro, Black Manta, Brainiac,
Gorilla Grodd, Cheetah,
Captain Cold, Scarecrow, Sinestro,
Scarecrow. Yeah.
Solomon Grundy. Technically, he's a zombie, but hey, you know, he's actually a pretty powerful character if you're reading to Solomon Grundy.
Is. I even think he went toe to toe with Superman and beat him. I think.
Yeah, he went up against him for business because he's more magically powered, whereas Superman is more sun powered. Yeah. But you know, I think that's one of the big interesting things that we've seen in the comic series, at least comics, where you have like characters like Shazam, Enchantress, Solomon Grundy. Trying to think of some more off the top of my head that are mystically powered, magically powered, going against a physically powered character.
Zatanna, Dr. Fate.
Oh yeah, Dr. Fate.
Whatever that one. Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah. You've had all these magically powered characters going against a physically powered superhero. That would make a good, interesting movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
Shazam versus Superman would be an interesting one to see.
They had an animated movie where it was Black Adam and Shazam and Superman fighting Black Adam.
Really? Didn't Black Adam win?
Was pretty brutal. He was beating Superman. He was.
He's a bad character.
Yeah, I remember one line, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, and he said something to the fact that you're as fast as Black Adam was talking to Superman. He's like, you're as fast as me, you're as strong as me, but like the only weakness he could see was magic, and then he started using magic against him.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he started beating him. So they were actually kind of standing toe to toe.
Yeah, they have compared to both of them several times.
Mm-hmm. That was actually a pretty decent animated movie.
Very.
I haven't brought up Black Adam. Let's talk about some of his rogues gallery. Who were some of the more memorable villains and some of your favorite villains?
I definitely like Brainiac. I have definitely been hooked on Brainiac for a long time as a character. Then you have, Darkseid, of course. The big powerhouses. I was just trying to find some of the more, like when we were like kids watching, the JLA, some of the characters they had on there, like Black Manta, because some of these really kind of cool looking characters, and then you had some really weird ones like the Toyman or it was the Toyman. But of course you got Bizarro, very interesting character. Bizarro world in general is very interesting if you go into the Superman, supervillains. But I think, our two big ones that I've read and done is Lex Luthor has always been number one.
Mm-hmm.
Brainiac is pretty much number two. And then, of course, the super-powered mega bad guy is Darkseid.
And I would like to add, of course, the other powerhouse that actually managed to, quote-unquote, kill the Man of Steel.
Doomsday. Doomsday was a badass character. He was awesome. Just pure raw power is all Doomsday was.
That's one reason I do like Doomsday. They have different ones. I like the Cyborg Superman. I didn't really care too much for the Cyborg Superman.
Yeah, I collected most of that series after 75, after the death of Superman. And I collected it for a while, and just kind of, it got to be too monotonous because they did 5 different story arcs. 5 different characters replacing Superman, and then obviously he came back and he went back to a normal production, but that was a lot of comics every other week to go collect and keep up with, because each of them had their own little different storyline. They never really crossed paths in their storylines, other than
unfortunate.
But they wow, it was just a lot. But it was very good. I mean, they thought it out. They thought it out, but it was very interesting.
I'm gonna bring up some more bad guys that really don't get as fleshed out as I think they are, and they should be. Especially when it comes to, you say, hey, 5 bad guys off the top of your head, and it's always gonna be pretty much Brainiac, Lex, Doomsday, Darkseid, and perhaps Netflix?
Yeah, actually, he's one of the oldest characters. He's one of the oldest characters that was one of his main enemies, or one of his main villains, was Mxyzptlk.
I actually like Mxyzptlk for the simple fact that it wasn't just power with him. It was like mind games.
Yeah, he just wanted to jack with him, you know. Can you beat me?
And I don't know if you've seen the episode of the Superman animated series where he had to deal with Mxyzptlk.
I used to watch a lot of the episodes with him in there, and he would mess with him all the time, trying to get him to say his name backwards to send him back.
Yeah. That was literally like the funny. Those are the best episodes.
And you're like, how are they going to get somebody to say a whacked out name like that to make him say it backwards?
And he does it. He did it like with no problem.
Yeah, he was Mr. Mxyzptlk. Yeah, was his little antagonist, is what they call him here. From the fifth dimension.
I even read an arc where I think him and Superman had to team up against somebody. It's like it was Mxyzptlk and somebody did something to Superman, but then it's like Mxyzptlk kind of had to change the heart, so he like helped him to overcome that. I can't remember which one it was. But I was reading about him when it came up. I was like, that's very interesting.
It's just kind of one of them, and most of the time you only saw him was in the old Justice League series or the old animated Superman series. You never see him mentioned anywhere else, just only in the cartoon series because he was kind of a cartoony character drawn up anyway.
Yeah. And I like Zod.
Yes.
I think Zod is what Superman could be. Like that's what everybody's afraid Superman would become.
Yep. I think
he got all his powers. Yeah, he has all his powers, he has all his weaknesses, but it's just a different ideologies.
Yep, his ideology and his drive was basically, in the Superman reboot, he was awesome. Once he figured out, he kind of figured it out, and he said, "Oh, it's game on." It was game on.
That was literally the best version of Zod. I don't care what nobody. The dude that played him in Superman 2 in the 80s. I liked him as Zod, and he had presence, but he came off more as just a douchebag. He was kind of flat.
Yeah,
he's like a flat character. This Zod actually had like reason and motive.
Exactly, he had purpose in his character. Definitely.
And you even kind of felt bad for him.
Yeah, because at the end you're like, he says, "I have nothing left."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "I'm going to reduce this place to rubble." And you're like, "Oh crap! Now what's about to happen?" And you get kind of crazy went.
The most titanic battle of superheroes in superhero/comic book films in history. That's literally one of the best fights.
Yep. And
that's one reason I love that, because they went all out. And in comics. Like that's what I want to see. That's the one thing I do want to see. They go all out. That's what happens when two Kryptonians are going toe to toe against each other.
Yep, I think we'll see something similar in the future of Superman and the Justice League, because now we're going to introduce even a more powerful character. I mean, granted, Superman Kryptonians in general are pretty powerful because of the sun, but in generally speaking, a person who has no requirements of anything other than just being powerful is going to be Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be, you're going to see that big powerhouse fight. You're going to see it in there for sure.
What other villain, like, if you could see another villain besides Darkseid in the movie? Because we've had Zod, we've had Lex, we've had Doomsday, and is alluding to Darkseid anyway. What other villains from Superman's Rose Gallery would you like to see?
I want to see, I'm probably gonna say it, but I want to see Brainiac. I really want to see a good version of Brainiac, a more dangerous version, more into the 80s and 90s comic series Brainiac, where he's more of the skeleton versionized that we've seen in the comics. not the humanoid-looking version.
Yeah, I've never liked the humanoid version.
Well, the original, he was a humanoid, kind of green-looking with these little things on his head.
Yeah, I never liked that design. But when he came out as more animatronic, I like that. Like a feel to it.
It'd be kind of like watching the Vision, or I guess a Vision would be a good equivalent to what I would expect to see that style of Brainiac in. But I want to see like the Ultron Brainiac, you know, the metallic body, the creepy looking, you know, ship that looks like a skull with tentacles on it. I want to see that version of Brainiac come into the movies. And I know at some point in time, reading back through the comics, I believe the two teamed up together anyway. Brainiac was kind of playing the intelligence guy, you know, gathering all the information because that's what he does anyway. You know, relaying information to Darkseid. And, you know, they ended up coming into the comic, and it was a pretty epic battle in the comics. So I think they could transfer that over, try to bring that into, you know, maybe a future of the Superman series. Or even a Justice League, you know, part 2. You know, might just get a hint of him in part 2. Yeah, get a hint of him in, you know, part 1 in JLA, and then come back, follow it up with, you know, him a couple years later. You know, it'd be easily done.
I think that's a pretty interesting. And also, I don't know if you've seen Smallville or the show Supergirl. They had 2 versions of Brainiac on those 2 shows. As much as Brainiac is like the, you know, kind of the goofball, not so serious. He's dangerous, but he's kind of like the childish bad guy. I like the Smallville version of Brainiac, and I liked how he was a menace to Clark's character, because in the Smallville version, Brainiac looked like Clark, acted like Clark. His weakness was the sun, I believe. Like when he wasn't in direct sunlight, his face looked like, you know, all cracky and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I liked about him. He wasn't affected by kryptonite. In fact, kryptonite made him stronger. And in the Smallville version,
that reminds me of a character, a bad guy I would like to see. Let me go find the name real quick.
I'll go ahead and continue. Yeah, in the Smallville version, he wanted to take over Clark's life. So I did like that version of Brainiac. And in Supergirl, they had a Brainiac version of her too.
Very. I have to get back. I would have to get into that series. I mean, I was probably sitting on some of the one of the 2, Netflix or Hulu. I'm sure I could find it.
Came on that.
Or DVD.
The only 2 problems I see with the whole Supergirl, they kind of push the whole feminist thing a little bit. They kind of push it a little hard. And then on top of that, like the bad guys, they're not like evolutionary. So, you know, every episode is a different bad guy. There's a couple of bad guys that do, if they come up in like this episode, they'll come back later on in another episode.
They just don't come as characters, memorable characters, or like repeats.
Like, I'll give you a better example. Livewire. It gave her a pretty cool origin for how she got her powers. But when they introduced her, how she got her powers, her becoming bad, and her getting beat all in one episode. And I'm thinking to myself, why you just introduce her episode 2, not liking Supergirl. Episode 4, she possibly get her powers. Episode, you know, 5, 6, and 7, she's like, and then maybe on 8, she comes and attacks Supergirl. Like, that would have made for a very compelling. And another thing that they did wrong with that series, too hard not to put Superman in there. That's like that. And I understand the reason why they didn't want to put Superman in there, because they wanted to flesh out Supergirl. But the way they did it was just they pushed it too. It's like you could have put Superman in a couple of episodes, and not the way that they did. And if he did come into the episode, it was like he was off screen or something obscured his vision, you know, your vision of him. You know what I'm saying?
Keep you out of sight, out of mind.
Like it was one episode, something happened to him, but they didn't show him on a gurney. All you see is his boots. Like he's laying on it, but they just showed his boots. And I'm like, seriously?
They have some. I hate when shows do that.
Like I said, I understand why they didn't want to show him because they're trying to put more emphasis on her. But they could have showed him 1, 2, or 3 times throughout the whole series. Maybe them two interacting. Maybe for the final climax, which I did get mad about. They should have put him in that. But they could have worked on that a little bit better. But that's another story, another topic for another time.
Another story and another day.
Let's talk about the movies, man. Which one is your favorite movie? I'm not gonna lie. Man of Steel was my favorite.
I did like Man of Steel. Well, as a kid, I saw all the original movies in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of liked the Lex Luthor character in those.
I never liked.
They came out with was it Brandon Routh was in the
yeah, Brandon
was
Roth.
Superman Returns.
Superman Returns. Yeah.
I liked some of the scenes in that series, especially when they had the minigun up on the roof and they're blowing everybody away and everything, and then
that was tight.
hits him with the minigun and he just ricocheting everywhere, and then he walks up to him and puts that 45 right in his eye, and they zoom in right on that eye, and you see the bullet just literally fragment right then and there.
Yeah,
loved it.
Even though people didn't like that movie, I actually liked it. I think it was a bit slow paced, and I think the fact they brought back Lex Luthor was a bit, repetitive. But as far as like, I liked his performance as Superman because it kind of harkened back towards Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, I liked that movie. I liked the reboot with Man of Steel. I didn't have any problem with it. I was kind of unsure about it, but it kind of mixed everything very well together for me, and I definitely enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And of course, keeping on with Henry Cavill, I think that's right, Cavill, Cavill. Yeah. I thought it was Carville for all the time, and I was like, just kind of out of the corner of my eye, I said, Cavill, what? But I didn't even know he was British. These voice actors, and they get in there, and you're like, what? Where's this voice coming from?
British.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
You never know until you hear him actually talk. He was doing the promos for Ben Affleck and him were doing the promos for charity for Batman vs. Superman to get to ride in a Batmobile or fly around with Henry around, which would have been pretty cool. But I've enjoyed it. I like the reboot. Man of Steel was definitely a plus. It wasn't too slow, and it was great. It was full of action. The story kept on. It gave us a little more background. I liked seeing Krypton. I liked to see what happened there. And it gives you the basis for General Zod being the way he was. And you understand how a very general introduction to the Kryptonian world before everything went to crap, which I really, 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 really liked that. And I like that their technology was partially organic. The black goop that moved around and turned into the variant things, It gave you a lot more into the background. I wish they could actually do a whole Kryptonian series. Would be cool of just seeing, Krypton in its height, expanding space and all these different things, and actually show them finding planets with yellow suns instead of red suns. What happened to the people when they landed there? What went on? I would like to have seen,
absolutely.
That would be a nice little story arc. I mean, it won't sell, but it would be interesting to see for something like that. And then I liked how he carried on with Batman and Superman, too. I liked how he carried, although I was kind of disappointed a little bit with the Batman versus Superman. I was expecting to see a good fight. I mean, it was a good, interesting fight. Batman using his brain, Superman trying to use his brawn and not kill him. And there was some of that kind of humor in there where he's like, I could have killed you at any time, man. I could have mopped the floor with you, but I didn't.
Yeah.
There was some good stuff. I'm very excited to see what they're going to do with Justice League.
The movie. I did like that movie because
I liked it, but
made him question himself. That's one thing I did like about it. It's like, why am I doing this? These people aren't appreciating it, and it's like, I can't.
Exactly. I got my last of my planet was destroyed by my own hand. The last person in my race that I know of, I killed him. In order to protect you guys.
Very symbolic. I think that was very symbolic because it's like, look what I sacrificed for my new home.
And then you guys are turning your back on me.
Yeah,
you know, and then the scene where he's going through all the recollections and seeing the scenes where he's, you know, the floods and the people on the roof, and it's like, Superman, help me. And you see him literally floating up there.
Because I like that they put that political aspect as well as like religious. Like they did. I like those undertones they threw in there.
Yeah, you know, what would happen if you had somebody like that? You know, if you had a Superman, you know, he's like, basically it would be a god, you know, to most people. You know, there's nothing that can stop him as far as most people generally know in the movie. You know, there's nothing you can do to stop him. So what then? You know, that's where you get those side storylines. You know, what if Superman, you know, went rogue? What if, you know, something happened that just made him mad and he just decided to stomp everybody? You know, there's nothing to stop him. Not even the entire Justice League could stop him. So
and going with the movies also, there are the TV shows. The TV shows are pretty good. Superman the animated series, which was phenomenal. You got Lois and Clark. That was great.
I enjoyed Lois and Clark.
Remember certain things. Of course, you got the what is it? Smallville. It did kind of get lax in the later seasons. With some of the storylines weren't so great, like the whole Zod thing. I didn't like the Zod storyline. When they introduced Zod in like season 5 or 6 or whatever, it was okay. When they brought Zod in like 7, like 8 or 9, I didn't like them.
It's like, what are they trying to do? Where are they going with this? What's, you know, comes out of the Phantom Zone and wants to take him back somewhere. I mean, it just was very weird.
It was interesting, but it wasn't like of all the villains on that show, I didn't care for him. I did not care for that
no. Blue Kryptonite, you know, that's another thing, you know, the side effects of all the variant kryptonites we've seen in the series.
Yeah, that was actually, I like that. I actually like that.
I found a guy I was looking for. His name's Metallo.
Oh yeah, he's an android, and he's got the kryptonite for a heart.
Well, he used to be a regular guy, and he got all jacked up, and he ended up getting a robotic body, but it's powered by kryptonite.
Yeah, he was like one of Superman's kind of one of the douchebags that was actually kind of going toe to toe with him, but that's only because of the kryptonite.
Yep. If he had just fought him with his ability, just as a general body, it would have already been pretty much smashed.
And I remember in that one episode of the animated series, he actually wore like a lead suit. That's kind of like, you know, the radiation suits. He had one that was made of lead, so he was actually fighting the guy. It's like the kryptonite can't touch him now, so he was actually putting his foot in his arm.
Yep, stomping on him. But yeah, he's one of those kind of interesting characters that just, what? But then you know, that is very interesting.
And, like we was talking about earlier, when it comes to the story arcs, I did like the Red Sun. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, after I started digging through that website and seeing all the variant story arcs, I said that one was very interesting because, you know, the time frame it came out, you know, you had the Cold War going on, you know, and what if a super-powered individual showed up and crashed where the United States and Russia are trying to fight to get there first? Who wins? And then what happens after they do that?
Superman was raised in Russia, became Russia's like leader. And I like that. And it's cool because, again, like the Flashpoint paradox, it actually showed all the major characters in different roles.
New people,
like
new
Batman's
everything.
character. Yeah, Batman's character wasn't in Gotham City, and his parents didn't get killed by a gang, just some dude trying to rob him. It was actually killed by a general, and that's how he became Batman. And it was in like Russia or whatever it was. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of skimming through the Red Sun. I briefly read it earlier and just kind of got a very little interesting piece of it, but the storyline is very intriguing. I mean, I'm sitting here just reading, going, "Wow, that's really good."
There's a twist at the end. There's a really good twist at the end.
I haven't got that far, but I will definitely finish reading up on this at least to get into it. But yeah, that's very cool. I like the sidelines, and I kind of like always the what if storylines. You know, what if something happened? You know, and then the thought process that the writers, whether it's a TV show or a movie or even in comics, they take that storyline and go with it. You know, doing stuff that the character would normally do, or engaging you to think about, you know, wow, what if that did happen? What if, you know, Batman never happened? What if, you know, it takes you into a whole another world and into a different field of thinking of that comic book character, and you're like, wow, you know, I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you this too. Do you think Superman is overpowered? Especially considering what we've seen in Superman Returns and Man of Steel.
Well, considering, you know, when these writers create these characters, they always kind of, again, think of the bad guys that go along with them. Or these characters come out and there may be already something in existence that they were trying to write to meet an objective or something. You know, we've had characters in the series like Darkseid, you know, a very powerful character, mystical characters, and you want to be able to have somebody at least to go toe-to-toe with them, you know, and in this case being a person from another race that gives him an advantage because he's, you know, they brought a character who would normally be nothing on his own homeworld. I mean, they didn't have a yellow sun, so he had no powers. I mean, he would just been a normal, you know, probably above average human equivalent, where he lands on a planet that happens to have a sun that affects their body chemistry and gives them these abilities. I don't think he's truly too powerful. They have a way to tame him. They have a weakness for him, so he's not all powerful, and there is something to slow him down, and there's also characters that will challenge him. So I don't think so. I think every comic universe that we deal with has those superpowered individuals, whether through, say, a magical or through incidental, in this case, Yellow Sun. And they have to balance out that character, too. They have to balance them against the nemesis of the weak or super powerful beings, whatever the case may be. Basically, no, I don't think he's too powerful. He has limits, at least, and he has a weakness. He is the strongest character, at least in the DC universe, for humanoid / Earth people, in this case, where he's kind of categorized. So, and we know there's even more powerful characters than him. So, I don't think so. I think he's a good. I think he'll hold a good balance. You know, for what he. I mean, granted, what he has now has even grown more since he was created. So originally it was leap. He didn't fly. He just jumped forever. He was faster than a train, you know, mightier than a locomotive, so he was strong, leaped tall buildings in a single bound. So the character has evolved over the years since being created. So I think they've added a little bit to balance out the DC universe and the character himself.
Yeah. I think they did a pretty good job balancing out their strength. Especially considering the people that he has to come up with. Mongol, which is another character I would like to see them put in the movie.
Yeah. Kang. I'm sorry. That's Marvel. Marvel totally brain.
I like Parasite. You can beat the Man of Steel if you can take his powers.
Yep, weaken him.
I like that. But yeah, there's a whole host of and he has some of the most diverse abilities. Super breath, heat vision, super speed, invulnerability, super strength,
freeze breath.
He got enhanced senses, telescopic, microscopic vision. I mean, I don't think there's another character that's got. Like, if there was like one or more abilities, I even heard that there was even he might have used the ability called Sunburst or something like that, where he released all of the energy, the solar energy in his body. A big burst.
I think that may have actually even been in Crisis, I believe. because he was like beat. I mean, he got when he did it, he was done. I mean, he was out of go-go juice because he basically free fell to earth, and I think somebody had to catch him. Go back and look in the Crisis series. But I mean, yeah, you don't see it mentioned a lot anywhere, but I do think I remember seeing it at one time, and I believe it was Crisis where he did that. But like I say, that was it. He spent everything he had. Now it's kind of like in the movie too. You know, after he got jabbed and he was beat and thrown through the dirt and mud and all, he finally got up and got out and got it past the cloud layer and hit that sun, and he's like, "Oh yeah, now let's go party." So he got that recharge.
I am going to admit, I am going to concede what you said about Superman Returns. They did have some of the best powers in action. Like they had the best, some of the best. I'm not going to say better than Man of Steel, but Man of Steel did have more uses. Like the one part with the plane. That's literally one of the most iconic Superman sequences in film history.
That was pretty epic.
The Gatling gun thing. That was pretty good.
That was awesome. That was probably my favorite part out of that movie. Next to him, knowing he was going to sacrifice everything himself when he started throwing the island.
The kryptonite.
Yeah, the kryptonite island. He's like, I just got to do it. I got to do it. I got to give everything. I'm out of here. And then seeing them fall from the sky and smash into the ground, and you're like, what? That can't happen. And then also giving him, I liked how they kind of played up his son in that movie.
Yeah, I would have liked them to actually continue that.
That would have been interesting if they had carried on with that particular reboot of the Superman series, because I would like to have seen what happened to the kid. Especially when the guy he's playing the piano and smashes him into the wall.
Yeah, that was so surprising.
You're like, what? The weak kid got all the problems, and then next thing you know, dude's squashed. So, but it gave him something, something to live for too. So,
I would say talk about some video games, but honestly, there ain't been really any that's been appealing. The only Superman game I played that was actually decent, even though the story and kind of the gameplay was kind of stupid and broken, was Superman Returns. And I mostly loved it because of the flying. Like the flying gameplay aspect, I loved it.
I don't think I've... Well, isn't there an MMO for DC?
Yeah, DC Universe Online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But I still say, that whole Superman Returns game, when you can fly, you felt like Superman flying. Like, they did a great job of flying. It was kind of broken, but it was like, I didn't even do the missions most of the time.
You just want to go flying.
Yeah.
Well, there's that roller coaster, the Superman, where it uses those electromagnetic catapult to basically you position yourself like Superman flying, and then that sucker just shoots you out at 60 miles an hour, from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, and you get that feeling.
Yeah.
I've always had the love of if I had a superpower, I would love to be able to just fly. Just like you did in the movie where you could just levitate and hang there. That's one of my things. I've had dreams of doing that, and it was just so awesome.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, just
it's
to do
like freedom.
Yeah, there's nothing restricted. You can go wherever you want. You can go as fast as you want. It's always been an awesome just thought, and when I see him in the movies, especially like in Batman vs. Superman, where he first arrives with the bat symbol shining up, and you see him just kind of floating there in the shadows until the lightning goes, and you're like, whoa, it's going to happen.
Especially the teaser trailer when they did that.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely all about that.
We're, running short on our time.
Yep, we need to kind of wrap it up.
I'm going to ask you one last question. Who gave the best performance as Superman? This includes movies, the live-action television shows, as well as the animated. I did like Tim Daly because he did do the voice for Superman and the animated series. I believe Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. But who, in your opinion, is the best Clark Kent / Superman?
I think so far in the movies, I like Carville right now, or Cavill. I think his character has been pretty good. I've kind of also liked in the animated series. I was trying to remember which one I was watching though. Was it not Young Justice? It has the Batman. It's like Justice League Unlimited or something like that.
Yeah.
The character, or at least the voicing of the character in there was pretty good. You know, it made me kind of like, you know, you could feel that power. You could feel that Superman commanding in there. But I think for me, I'm more of a live action person in this case. So I'm going to go with Carville right now, being my number one choice.
I'm split. I'm always split because I have different aspects. I like whatever the dude, I can't remember his name. The one that
Brandon
played
Ruth?
him in Smallville.
Brandon wow, it's embarrassing. I just totally had a brain fart. Duh, what happened? My brain went to mush.
Tom Welling.
Christopher Reeve or Brandon Ruth.
I like Tom Welling as a young Clark Kent. He fit that role. I like Christopher Reeve as like the Boy Scout version of Superman.
Exactly. I was just trying to think of the words for that. Yeah. You took them from my mouth.
Yeah.
You know, the Christopher Reeve is the classic comic character, like an old 1951 animated series. You know, the arms on the side, the cape in the wind.
The symbol of truth. That version of Superman, I like. He fits that role.
Yep.
I like Henry Cavill's version of Superman because he's more humanized.
Yes.
More internal conflict and stuff like that. So I'm split between those three.
I can work with all of them. I mean, everybody. I haven't really been disappointed with any of the live action at all. I've been, you know, maybe the story was a little weak here and there, but actually the characters playing or the actors playing the Superman, I've had no complaints at all. Each one brings their own uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether they humanize him, put him out of place, or just as we said, the Boy Scout. You know, they all have a place in our Superman history, and
ain't nobody can do that smirk like Christopher Reeve.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, you can't replace him at all, no matter what. He just always had that, you know, just unique character. Even with he had the little curly Q too.
Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Ken, I greatly appreciate you joining me again for another edition of this Breaking Debate, man. You are just awesome sauce.
So what's next week?
Okay. This is what I want to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the Transformers films and you know, ideas and stuff and what we like, didn't like.
Okay.
Also about the fifth one that's coming out.
Sounds like a plan? Sounds like a plan to me, sir. I'm definitely in for the Transformers.
All right, then. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us for another Break Debate. We talked about the Man of Steel. Next week, we're going to go ahead and change pace a little bit and talk about the Transformers live-action films and what we didn't like and all of that good stuff. Also, with the upcoming The Last Night, we're going to get all into that, guys. So please join us. Want to leave off any notes, man?
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe us, NarikChase. Love us on YouTube. Show us some love. Leave comments, questions. We'll get to you.
So, all right, then, guys. We'll catch y'all next week.
Same time, same place.
See ya.